Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to be creating a wreath card without a wreath maker. So we're going to start off. I have this die set here because this is actually the only large enough die that I had that would work for this. This is a hexagon obviously, but you could use a pentagon, an octagon, anything that has, several sides to it, and it would work perfectly fine. I'm going to run this through on some 80-pound neenah solar white paper, and then I have a nice big hexagon shape ready to go. So the other things that you are going to need for this card is you are going to need a set of stamps or several sets of stamps, and obviously they don't have to be floral, but you can do whatever you want. That is the stamp set that I'm going to be using. And the other thing that you kind of pretty much need is a stamping platform. Now, it doesn't matter which brand at all you are using. This one happens to be the Holtz stamping platform. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose the first flower that I want to include here. And this element is going to be kind of one of the biggest and I guess boldest elements on there. So I'm going to stamp it first. And you need to remember that obviously this shape has 6 sides, so it's going to be stamped 6 times. Now, I do suggest that if you are not sure about this, perhaps you could cut out the shape in some copy paper or computer paper and just test it out first before you go ahead and use your good cardstocks. I'm going to start off with some Deep Lagoon. Now, this is a VersaFine ink pad, and this one is really dry. Now, I do not have the re-inkers for these, so you will see me stamp this one twice every single time for 2 reasons. 1, to get good coverage, and 2, to make it a nice dark color. Now, the key to this whole process being successful is, see the 6-inch mark that I'm pointing out here? Every single time I turn my hexagon, I want the point or the corner to be on that 6-inch mark. So when I turn it, I always want to turn it the same direction. So for me, I'm going anti-clockwise, and I always just turn it and then make sure that I have it centered on that 6-inch mark. And it may even be helpful to put a little piece of washi tape or a colorful tape down so that you know where you're aiming for every single time. But it's really easy, so I'm not adjusting the stamp at all. I'm just inking it up, stamping it, and then re-inking it and re-stamping it. Then turn anti-clockwise, 1 turn to the left, and making sure that that point is on the 6-inch mark. Now, I do have one magnet holding this in the middle, and I just need to make sure that it's not too close to my stamping, because I find in this platform that if it is too close to my stamping, it does tend to affect the coverage that I get. So I'm making sure it's kind of further up towards the top a little bit. And then once I have done this flower, you can see the wreath being created. So I kind of went nice and slow through the first flower there. I am going to speed up this next part just so that you don't have to kind of painfully watch through. So I have cut out a lot of the kind of re-inking and all of those little bits and pieces just so that, yeah, it's less painful for you guys to watch. And I'm sure you've seen a wreath card being created before. I'm going to go into Imperial Purple, and this is kind of a piece of foliage that I'm going to stamp, and this one only needs to be stamped 1 time. So I am going to start again, always making sure that it's at that 6-inch mark. That bottom right-hand corner is at the 6-inch mark, and I just ink it up and then turn left. I mean, again, it doesn't matter if you turn left or you turn right. It doesn't matter at all, just as long as you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And again, everything is going to be stamped 6 times, so try and remember that when you're kind of placing your elements and how they might interact or overlap with each other. I'm going to add this little leaf on here now. And as for the color palette today, I just played around and really like these colors put together. I mean, not super realistic with the blue flowers and the purple foliage and things, but that's okay. It's not what it's about. It's about looking pleasing to my eye and enjoying the card making process as I go. So I am stamping these leaves in, I think this is the Olympia green. And again, you could use whatever inks that you would like. It doesn't matter which inks you're using for this, just as long as they work for stamping. Then I have this little cluster of flowers. This is a really small cluster of flowers that I got out of that other stamp set, which I will try and link down below. I'm going to use some majestic blue. However, this color is way too deep for what I want. So I'm going to insert a tiny little piece of scrap paper, just have it sitting in there, close the door of my stamping platform once, remove the paper, and then stamp down so I get a second generation stamp on my wreath. So you can see it is much, much lighter, and that's exactly what I want. I've already kind of got that nice dark blue flower, so I don't really want anything competing with it, and I feel like it just fills in that nice little gap there perfectly. So again, just putting down my scrap piece, stamping off, and then removing the scrap piece and shutting the door again so that I get that nice light image. And then I'm actually going to do the same thing here. This is meant to be the center of some of the flowers, but what I'm going to do is use it as just a little bit of a space filler. So again, I'm going to use some smoky gray ink, which is too dark for what I need. So I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing and stamping off so that I get a second generation stamp result on my wreath. So this one, as I said, it's just more of a filler. I could have added more leaves or anything. And honestly, if you go through your stash, I think that you will find you have lots of these little filler bits and pieces. And if you put a couple of stamp sets together, you'll have more than enough to make a beautiful wreath as well. So I'm just going to finish off by stamping the 6 of these, and then for me this is pretty much full enough. I don't like things super busy, so that's where I'm going to leave the stamping for today, and you can see that I have this beautiful wreath result. I'm going to create a card base for this card using exactly the same die that I used to cut it out. So I have a 110 pound neenah solar white piece of paper here, and it is folded at the top. You want to make sure that the die is just hanging off over the top. So the cutting edge will not cut the top edge, but it will cut everything else around it. So you want the cutting edge to be just hanging over and no more. Make sure there's not too much of a gap, otherwise your card base will be a different size to your card front. Now I die cut out 4 of these little thank yous, and I'm just using some liquid glue. Inside here is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish, and I'm going to pile up all 4 of these together. I do skip through a bit of this footage just for you guys because I know it's repetitive. And I actually have a video coming up as well where I'm going to show you how I refill my glues, because that has been highly requested. And then we're going to put this card together. So adding a little bit of liquid glue onto the back, putting it down onto our card base and making sure that it opens the right way, and then adding in our nice stacked thank you sentiment just with some more liquid glue. And then I'm going to add a couple of finishing touches with some Nuvo drops just to add a little bit of gold into some of those gaps. This is a beautiful wreath card and I really love it. However, if you wanted a wreath card that was a different shape in the end, I would create the card, and then before you glue it down, obviously, so you've just got your card front, I would die cut the shape that you want from it, or use your trimmer, for example, if you wanted a circle or a square or a rectangle, and that way you still have the ability to create the wreath card with the hexagon, and then make whatever shape you want in the end. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you love this card as much as I do. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye.